Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. Are we live on everything? Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for joining us this Monday for one of our, I think to me, this is a favorite topic of mine, but it can be very confusing and it can be very in depth. So we're going to try to sum it up and not go too much down a rabbit hole, basically. So thank you again, Lisa, Dr. Ryan. Today, we're going to talk about bloating, digestion, anxiety, and fat loss. So have you heard that your gut is your second brain? I think a lot of us have heard that term. Maybe we don't really know what it means. And what if we told you that you could actually lose weight by healing your gut, right? Could be as simple as that. Sometimes this is like just the missing factor in our weight loss journey can be our gut. But our gut is not just about weight loss. It's about so much more. And that's what we're going to get into today. So first of all, I want to make sure you have subscribed to our channel. That way you don't miss any of these that we do. And it also helps you. You can go back and watch all the other ones that we've previously done. And we love your comments. So please comment, comment throughout this, because we'll kind of, as we're going through each topic of the gut, we can answer questions along the way, but then always at the end, we will answer questions as long as it pertains to what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Love the engagement.
Yes, the engagement is huge. So, and if you're new to joining us, welcome. We love newcomers and we love repeats. Repeats, that means you like listening to us and you've learned something from us. And the feedback really has been great. I mean, I'm told very often that what we bring to the table is very educational. And again, we try to not get too scientific and too in-depth about something because that's not necessary. It's necessary just to understand and let us make the point so you guys can have a take-home message and something to act on. And before we start, if you guys hear knocking, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We're next to a warehouse and apparently they're doing something and the banging keeps happening.
We are in one of our two warehouses here.
Yes.
And next door neighbors are banging away.
Yes. Okay, so today we're going to cover the science of the microbiome, how to decrease bloating and improve digestion, which most people think about when we're talking about the gut.
Sure.
The relationship between anxiety and the gut, so there's the brain connection there. How to achieve fat loss by focusing on the gut, what factors impact the gut microbiome, and then how to really fix and work on the gut microbiome, which will come into our introduction of our Live Good Probiotic Gut Support Supplement that we just recently launched. Super excited about that. So first, let's just kind of dive into the science of the microbiome, because maybe you've heard microbiome, maybe you've just heard gut. Let's talk about it. So the gut microbiome, the gut microbiome refers to all the microbes, okay, our bacteria, viruses, fungi in our intestines.
And other stuff.
Yes, but the main categories.
Yeah.
And they help us digest food. They support our immune system, our heart, and our brain health. So it's these microbes, what's going on in our gut affects so much of our entire body. So we have to understand that, the importance of it. So the gut microbiome begins to affect your body the moment you are born, the moment you enter this world. And as you grow, your gut microbiome diversifies, meaning it starts to get more in different kinds of microbial species. So we talk about when we're born. So we get so much going through the birth canal, and then also being that first, breastfed from the mother. There's so much that goes on into the beginnings of our gut.
Yeah, those two things are really important too, right? I'm not to say that cesarean sections are, unnecessary, because they certainly serve a place, right, in the medical world.
Sure.
But if you have the choice, you absolutely want to go for a natural vaginal birth, and you absolutely want to breastfeed.
Right. And even if it's not long term, I mean, I understand everybody's
to colonize.
Things are different, but the very beginning, that beginning colostrum, just those first few weeks are crucial to help the baby form that gut microbiome. Again, it starts that very beginning.
Sure does.
Okay? So
and finally, formulas caught on to some of the things that are happening as far as the microbes that are there and what they're doing and how they're breaking down certain fibers that the human body cannot break down. So it's fascinating science, and it's pretty conclusive. It's not like it's just speculative at this point. They're pretty sure that this is pretty certain that this is the way it goes.
Sure. And just to give you a little fun fact of what's going on, there are more bacterial cells. There are more bacteria cells than in the human body than human cells. There are more bacteria cells than human cells. So it's pretty crazy. So we really need to pay attention to these, because you also have to think about it too. Not all bacteria are good. right? So it's a diverse microbiome, but also a well-balanced microbiome is our goal.
Yeah.
So again, it's very important for overall health to have a diverse and balanced microbiome. That is the number one goal for all parts of what's going on, whether we're discussing something about the brain, whether we're discussing the heart, the gut. It is extremely important to have a diverse and balanced microbiome. And you maybe have heard of the term dysbiosis. That's when we have an imbalance in our gut microbiome. So maybe there's more bad than good, or we just have too much of one kind and not enough of another. So we're unbalanced, right? I don't know. Do you have anything to elaborate on? Just kind of a little bit of the nitty gritty, the science behind it all.
No, but accepting the fact that the microbiome is so unique, it's N of 1 to you. It depends on where you live. It depends on all of your lifestyle habits. It depends on the medications you take, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sure.
But again, where you live, source local. Try to source local foods. Try to eat things that are as fresh as possible, that are ripe, that are high in phytonutrients and high in fiber. I mean, these are the things that we'll talk a little bit about today. But again, trying not to eat from things that are covered with barcodes, right? You don't want to eat too much processed food, and we'll talk about that today. But
sure,
certainly, just you're going to cover so many of the bases of supporting the diverse microbiome just by choosing locally grown natural foods,
right?
Whole foods,
right? So you think about, let's just think about our skin, for example. Is our skin is reflective of our skin health. Is like a lifetime of aging. So maybe we never.
Wait, say that again.
Maybe a lifetime of aging, like of sun exposure. So our skin, we are born.
Oh, you're saying just as the skin.
Right. We have our skin, and as we age, depending on what we do and did with our skin,
right,
sun exposure, diet, all that. Same thing goes with our gut. So like a lifetime of like poor diet and a bad lifestyle is really going to take toll on the gut. Now, it doesn't mean, the one cool thing about the gut is it's very adaptive. Like you can make changes to the gut pretty quickly. It doesn't mean that once they change, they're there. It's something you constantly always have to work on. But I don't want you to think of it something like you've constantly been eating poor your whole life and lack of exercise, poor everything. And then you've decided to make a change that, there's no turning back. You just have a lot of work to do. That's all.
Were you trying to draw a parallel between, so you're just trying to use that skin as a metaphor, as an example of how the gut can also show signs of aging.
Right, but we don't see our gut.
We don't see our gut.
See our skin.
In the skin with excess sun and toxins. And okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I follow.
Thanks.
Very cool.
Clearing that up.
Yeah. No. 3 to 4 days actually would be about the timeline you could expect to see a change if you made a major adjustment to your gut. Or your food intake, or by supplementing with a probiotic, 3 to 4 days, and you can start to see significant changes.
Which is awesome. And again, it doesn't always stay there. So you have to keep working. You can't just do it and stop.
Yeah.
You got to take care of it. Okay. So let's talk about how to decrease bloating and improve digestion, because
maybe talk about digestion first, but can I talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to go for food, right? You're going to eat food. The first thing you do is you smell it. So your olfactory bulbs. We talked about this with essential oils, the impact of what happens, but from a digestive process, it's already started releasing enzymes and preparing the mucosal lining to go to work. So the mouth starts breaking it down with enzymes, and obviously as you digest, it goes into the stomach where it gets tumbled, and pulverized into sort of a sludge. At the same time, it's releasing all these enzymes. It's releasing of course, the microbes, the bacteria, the virus, the different things that are in there, the fungi. That all of this stuff's going to work to break down this food. And a lot of stuff's happening in the gut, but really most of your nutrients are absorbed in the small intestine. So this is the digestive process, right? And then by the time it reaches your large intestine, your colon, it absorbs back the water, and then you void through your rectum. But this whole process is such an important component to how we extract nutrients out of the foods we eat. And you'll hear that the bacteria, specifically the bacteria, play a giant role in this process.
Right. So, and there's so many, I feel like you could probably relate to this, but there's so many of you that have been diagnosed with IBD, irritable bowel disorder, IBS, which falls under it, but it's basically a category of not necessarily knowing what's going on, but it's a category of symptoms that we get: bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, and it all starts with a disrupted microbiome.
Sure.
And but a lot of times, it's hard to know the root cause, like what is going on, unless you go through testing. You do stool samples, you get to test the microbes on what's going on in your gut. It's a hard thing to to treat. So it's just kind of lumped into like, these are your symptoms, you have IBD. Okay. So really what's going on when a lot of the gas and bloating and poor digestion happens is our food is not being digested properly. It's being fermented in our gut.
Exactly.
We get overgrowth of bacteria. We get yeast.
Exactly.
And all of that going on will lead to the bloating and lead to the gas and discomfort. And I mean, I think there's nothing worse than a stomach ache. So I
right.
You know,
so right here, yes, bloating, please. I need help with that. So Lisa was saying, and exactly what Lisa said, a dysbiosis, the wrong balance of bacteria, different things going on, whether it's we'll talk about the causes that throw this dysbiosis into play here. But man, you get that food in there, and now a lot of it doesn't digest. Some of this stuff, the fibers that cannot get broken down by the human body, are now just in there fermenting, and they're putting off gas, and they're just, the bloating is a real problem, but it's a byproduct of what?
Well, no, keep going. I'm going to say something example here.
It's just a byproduct of poor digestion,
right?
Because of the lack of the dysbiosis.
Sure. So think about when something in your fridge has been sitting there too long and it ferments, and like maybe say it's in a plastic container and it kind of bloats out, swells, and you open it, it explodes. I mean, that is what's going on in your gut. That is your bloating. There goes your gas. I mean, it's horrible. So a lot of people that have the IBD, IBS, have a different composition in their microbiome. They have less of the protective bacteria and more an abundance of the pathogenic bacteria. Yeah. So, it's just something that you need to work on, but you need to understand first, like why it's going on, because there also are so many other things that can affect the gut. So
sure.
It gets confusing.
Let's get through some of those.
I just want to just speak while I'm just saying this, like speaking from example, and always, like we talk about always finding the root cause.
Yes.
So a few years ago, I had all of a sudden out of nowhere irritable bowel syndrome. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I didn't change anything. Everything seems right. I went to the GI doctor, got checked out. Everything was totally fine. And I tried a low FODMAP diet. I was doing everything by the books and nothing was working. And then thank God for my functional medical doctor, but she found out I had mold toxicity. We had mold in which is unfortunately very common in Florida because of our high humidity. But we had a leak that we didn't know about. And we also had things going on in our air conditioning. So thankfully I was properly diagnosed and I was able to work on that. But again, you have to find the root cause because everybody has a different reaction to things. But when my toxicity went straight to my gut, it completely disrupted my gut. So so many things can happen. Okay, this is another big one. When I talk about the gut is a second brain, right? There is a relationship between anxiety, depression, and your gut. There's a relationship between mood disorders and your gut. So the gut is a second brain. Now, serotonin is our feel-good hormone. And a lot of times with that, you think, okay, that comes from the brain, right? The central nervous system. Mm-hmm. But 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. I know there's many other things and you're going to hit on that, but I mean, that right there just shows you how important it is, because if something bad, negative is going on down here, think of what it's doing up here. And they can have the inverse relationship. Whereas if you already have depression, anxiety symptoms, gut dysbiosis can make it worse. And gut dysbiosis without this can all of a sudden cause mood disorders, right? So, and a lot of this is like involved between the gut-brain axis. And I don't want to get too technical with that, but just knowing that the gut microbiome is made of trillions of microbes that interact with our nervous system. So an imbalance there contributes to that anxiety and depression. An inflamed gut, which is part of this. Microbiome releases chemical messengers that travel to the brain. So this is what I'm talking about, right? Gut-brain axis, they affect each other. So we really need to, if we have things going on, stop just thinking like something's going on up here. Let's go down and address the gut. Let's see if we can maybe change our microbiome by adding in a supplement and taking care of our diet and working on our lifestyle, and see if improving our gut in turn improves our brain.
So much in there.
Yeah. Wow, and it's also huge. Like when you get nervous, right? They say this like the butterflies in your stomach. I mean, there's not really butterflies in your stomach. Nothing's going on in your stomach, but it's like that whole connection there. I mean, it's for real.
Yeah, and then chronic inflammation on the gut lining. So there's things that wear away, like the mucosal lining and the cilia, these little like finger-like feathers that help with absorption, increase surface area. But either way, there's like tight junctions that break down. You might have heard of things called like leaky gut or increased gut permeability. So just as some beneficial compounds get absorbed and can travel to the brain, like the short chain fatty acids, things like butyrate, some of these inflammatory mediators will do the same. They'll make it through the blood. They'll make it through the gut lining. They'll actually absorb and they'll make their way through the blood-brain barrier and into the brain. And so that's when they can have a lot of detrimental effects, of course. But when you talk about serotonin, you're not even just talking about being the feel-good hormone. You're talking about growth factors. You're talking about learning, memory. You're talking about sleep. There's all these different things that serotonin's involved in. And you're right, 95% of it is produced and stored in the gut lining. That's huge. But in today's society, this is the stuff from the pharmacist inside of me makes me a little bit crazy, because people would very much rather get prescribed like Lexapro or Prozac and take a medication, just one tablet a
Some
day,
type of
antidepressant medication, which is a SSRI, which is a serotonin selective reuptake inhibitor. So therefore increases the amount of serotonin in the synapses, so in the synaptic cleft. So therefore more serotonin to do more of the things that we think we're deficient in.
Right.
Think about this. So we're taking an SSRI to increase our serotonin, but only 5% of it is made in the brain, but most of our serotonin is produced and stored in our gut lining. So if we're taking the SSRI and we have never addressed our gut problems, we're just taking now a medication that also has other downstream effects, that has other drug-induced nutrient depletions, that has side effects like sexual dysfunction and different other issues. And I can always comment with you individually on email if you want to ask me specifically about SSRIs. And it's not just serotonin. You're talking about 30 plus neurotransmitters or so, like things that are made or produced in the gut. So dopamine, right? The feel good. Dopamine is more the reward center. Norepinephrine. I mean, these are the three big ones that are played in the brain world as far as like depression, mood disorders. You need to say
right. Well, when you're just talking about dopamine, that's our feel good hormone.
Reward center.
So is that that's similar to say when we eat sugar?
Correct. Yeah.
We're eating sugar in our digestive system, but what does it do? It lights up.
It lights up
our brain center,
the reward center. Yeah. The reward. Yeah, and that's the problem with the food scientists today. Their job is to figure out ways to light up those centers, and it really is an addictive food behavior, which is kind of scary. And some of the studies I've read predating the development of this gut support was food addiction and how probiotic and certain balances of microbes can actually not prevent, but like help you wean off and not become addicted to some of these foods, and maybe even catch it early enough, prevent it.
Right.
But I mean, so you're talking about those three big ones. Like there's other medications that go after the norepinephrine pathway, right? We just talked about SSRIs. There's other ones that go after norepinephrine. There's dopamine involved in this whole process. Guys, there's so many other important ones. There's glutamate. So glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter. And you'll see that we have glutamine in this product. Glutamine and glutamate are also precursors to the neurotransmitter. So they're really important in that process as well. They're also produced in the gut. GABA. You guys have heard of GABA ever? GABA is the inhibitory neurotransmitter. It plays a huge role in slowing us down and making sure that we have a balance and homeostasis. And of course, there you go. That's also plays a role produced in our gut too. So guys, like 30 plus neurotransmitters. I mean, no wonder why they're calling it the second brain. And this topic is so diverse and such a big issue. They're studying it like crazy now. So much literature out there. It's crazy. But when you know these basics, these are super basic things, right? But when you know these, then you can really start to kind of, okay, this all makes kind of sense, But I will say it starts with food. Food is medicine. That's where it starts. This by itself won't fix all your problems. You take this and you still go to McDonald's once every single day and you still process food and you're just constantly drinking sodas and junk. Yeah, it's never going to get much better for you.
Right.
Very true. What are we up on next?
Let's just hit up on fat loss. Fat loss and the gut. So maybe the barrier that you've been working on, you're doing everything right, but you're not really focusing on your gut as much and you're having trouble losing weight. I mean, there are several reasons for this. And it doesn't have to be your situation, but I just want you to think that there's the relationship. So an altered neurotransmitter production. So what's going on? We just talked about food the relationship.
Yep.
It makes us, addicted to food. This is exactly what Ryan was just hitting on. So if we're addicted to this food because of what's going on from the gut to the brain, we're eating more. We're consuming more calories. We're consuming more junk. The junk is therefore still screwing up the gut, the microbiota, leading to more and more dysbiosis, but we're still consuming more calories. That's the biggest thing, the caloric intake that is happening because of this altered neurotransmitter production. Increased inflammation, weight gain. I mean, and that's all over, but I mean, your gut specifically. Enhanced permeability. So people talk about leaky gut, right? It's not really a medical term, but people understand it as leaky gut. And it's, in a nutshell, it's like little junctions in your gut lining that are open. So food particles are getting out into your system. So you're in your body, and they're not supposed to be there clearly. So your body almost like attacks it and has this like response to it. So you end up becoming intolerant to certain foods. So all that can lead to inflammation, bloating, constipation, all those.
And recognizing that this isn't all just the job of the microbiota, right? This isn't just bacteria, yeast, mold, fungi. Like that's not it. It's enzymes as well. So we're going to talk about the enzymes and why we included enzymes, how many we included, for what reason. Because like she said, breaking down and the bloating and the digestion and the weight gain. I mean, there's many organs involved in that digestive process. I didn't mention earlier when I just talked about when the food goes down, but you've got the biles being released to emulsify fats. You've got the pancreatic release of enzymes. You have all these different chemicals that are being just blasted down into the gut to help break down these foods.
Right.
And when you're eating a lot of this processed food and your body's inflamed, it's just not functioning at an optimal level. Sure,
100%. And with the leaky gut, I don't want to go too much into this. I mean, you can ask me more on it. You can Google it. There's information out there. But lipopolysaccharide, LPS, it is a toxin that is actually released in leaky gut. And this causes weight gain. I mean, it is a toxin that is going into our body from our gut.
Toxic metabolite.
Yeah, it's crazy. So there's a lot of research on LPS and weight gain. So, I mean, in a nutshell, guys, we got to take care of our gut. We really got to. And also, of course, we're going to talk about our probiotic gut support, but also understand that your gut lining is made up of collagen. So we do have our collagen peptides that just, you just want to cover all your bases.
I forgot that too. The colostrum. The colostrum too. Yeah, when I was talking about leaky gut earlier, guys, you're not going to get that just fixed on its own. It's a big thing you got to really focus on. But colostrum's beneficial.
Yeah.
Glutamine, which is in this product, is super beneficial.
Yeah. There's a lot of healing and repair that goes into it.
Exactly. The immunoglobulins that are in colostrum, the first milk postpartum, not to go off on that tangent, but I mean, if you look at our chocolate whey protein, so the whey isolate, you'll see colostrum in there as well.
Mm-hmm. So yes, and they are taking they're doing these twin studies, these identical twin studies, and they're finding these. Obviously, the ones that they're finding for the study is when you have identical twins where one is obese and one is not, and they're testing the gut microbiome, and there's major differences. So it's showing that this is completely lifestyle driven. So the obese microbiome has been living a toxic lifestyle, and it shows in the gut. And obviously that contributes to the weight gain. It's all a vicious cycle. How are we doing?
I was looking at the one from the question about SIBO. So
yes, yeah. Let's touch on that now.
Go ahead.
Why not?
Go ahead.
Okay.
So
No, I was not. I did the test.
You did the test.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kelly asks, what's your suggestion for someone with SIBO? This is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Yeah.
And it is very true. Most probiotics make it worse. And that typically is like the first sign when a doctor's working with you, trying to figure out what's going on with you. You have all these digestive issues and they give you a probiotic and your symptoms get worse.
Yep.
That is a sign that you do have SIBO. SIBO is actually easily treated with a antibiotic. And this antibiotic is one that is just isolated in the gut. It goes directly to that bacteria. So it's not one that is reported to cause other issues. And we always want to say, avoid antibiotics at all costs, if you really can. But this is one that acts directly on that bacteria. So it's not known to get rid of all the other good bacteria. So my thoughts on it is
get tested.
See the doctor, get tested. And if you do have it, use the antibiotic to treat it. That was one of the things that I did when I was going through my mold toxicity, because I had to just rule everything out. And of course, I never thought mold. But I went to the SIBO and I couldn't believe it was negative because I was like, I needed an answer. Give me something. But yes, that's definitely get tested. And I mean, some doctors honestly might just say, if you have all the symptoms and then they give you a probiotic and your symptoms get worse, they might just treat you, without the test. But The test is like maybe $300. It's good to know. You want to get rid of this.
Yeah, and then you got to remove, right? You got to remove by starting by removing, then you kind of replace by re-inoculating. So then you start supplementing back, but you're really focused on your foods more than anything.
Yeah.
So okay, cool.
So what factors impact the gut microbiome? I'll breeze through these.
Yeah.
Most of them we've actually discussed in this, but okay, we said the diet is very important.
Huge, number one.
And even like a super high fat diet with your low quality fats and a low fiber diet disrupt the microbiome. So again, whole foods, vegetables, fruits, nuts, beans, whole grains, physical activity. Too much can disrupt the microbiome, and too little can disrupt the microbiome. So you want to find that happy balance of moving our body. Yep, exactly. Dietary supplements. Okay, I'm saying things that impact, but dietary supplements will help the gut microbiome. Medications, PPIs.
Proton pump inhibitors. You guys that are out there taking meds for your heartburn, watch out. You're altering the pH, which is a big component of the viability of most bacteria in the stomach. So the stomach should be super duper acidic around 2. Proton pump inhibitor inhibits the pump of proton, the hydrogen ion, which is acidic. So we make hydrochloric acid, HCl, hydrochloric acid in our stomach lining for a reason. And we're disrupting that with PPIs.
Right.
And the H2RAs, the histamine 2 receptor antagonists. So those are your famotidine, Pepsid, basically. There's 2 classes. Email me if you have any questions on those.
But again, these are all directed on the gut. So you're given these
ruining the stomach
to help your gut.
Hurting bone density. There's so many downstream effects of not being able to absorb nutrients like iron, like calcium, like vitamin C. I mean, there's these different things you're just not going to absorb, and your body is very deficient when you take these for long periods of time.
And of course, we said antibiotics. Like we know
antibiotics. We know
antibiotics do not. Is that yours or mine?
Yeah.
Sorry, our battery just
said. Yeah, batteries are low.
Antibiotics, besides the one I was talking about with SIBO, but when they come in, their job is to get rid of the bacteria. And they're not saying, oh, you're a good bacteria, so we're going to leave you there and we're going to take away that bad bacteria. So therefore, when you're on antibiotics, you have to be super careful. You need to make sure you're really supplementing with a probiotic. So always make sure. Combo.
Okay.
Certain cooking utensils, aluminums, things like that can affect our gut microbiome. Sweeteners, sucralose, aspartame, saccharin. Sucralose, guys.
Artificial sweeteners are tough.
Sucralose is still, aspartame you still see, but I think we all know, avoid that. Sucralose is still in a lot of things. It's a lot of supplements.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm getting a supplement to review and I look at it, I'm like, boom, number 1, sucralose. I don't need to look any further. It is an artificial sweetener that disrupts the microbiome. So if you read your labels. Stress, high stress.
Yeah, high stress.
High stress. But again, that also comes to like the high stress, depression,
it's a nasty feedback loop for sure when you get stuck in it, but work on the food.
Right. And we said C-section, birth, C-section, breastfeeding. We talked about that.
Yep.
So it's so important to really avoid what you can, work on what you can do. Take your supplements.
What would you say to somebody like this right here, though? So massive bloating. Like, would you say to like food elimination? Where do you go with this? Do you do functional testing for SIBO? Because the traditional gastroenterologists aren't really going at the root cause. They're just looking for something super obvious, and they're more likely to put you on a medication that can disrupt the microbiome further. So
so this is where I go. Like, I really value functional medical doctors that look at that, search to find the root cause. And again, that's how my mold toxicity came up. But I would just start with the process of elimination of things.
Elimination.
I would do the SIBO test.
Okay.
Right. If you can afford these things, do what you can to check it off the list. You could also do a stool sample test. This is all done with functional medical doctors as well. They can see what balance of microbes you have in there, and they can really work on you to get rid of the bad. But again, it's a lot of what we're talking about.
If you don't have the means for any of this, it's food. Seriously, you can spend less money by food prepping with locally sourced whole foods than you would buying lunches and dinners out. Trust me. True. Just go for the natural foods and start trying.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, look up the low FODMAP diet. Now, it's a strict program, but you're not supposed to stay on it. This is supposed to help you take steps back and kind of figure out your triggers and what's going on. And sometimes it could just be you might have trouble breaking down certain foods. Like, I love vegetables. Vegetables hate me. Okay. Right. This is always going to be me.
Sure.
I've tried everything, and I feel so much better when I stick to like meats and fruits and stuff like that. Of course, I eat my vegetables. I just know, be careful.
Yeah.
So yeah, just process of elimination. But like Ryan said, start with food, look up the low FODMAP diet, and just take some steps back and see what really aggravates you. Okay, how do we fix the gut microbiome? And there
We just talked about some of that.
Yeah,
So
but that's
look,
a
you
really-
obviously know how much we focus on food, exercise, lifestyle alterations, reducing toxin loads, reducing smoking if you are smoking, minimizing the consumption of alcohol, some of the irritants, different things of that nature. But
yes,
gut support.
Sorry. Yeah.
Gut support's going to be the next obvious recommendation, right? I mean, which, by the way, I've been using it and absolutely loving this product. 2 capsules on an empty stomach every morning.
Yes.
Where are we?
No, it was just giving, an example, but he's talking about how the bacteria in your mouth affects
It's
everything,
huge,
but there's also a major relationship between like the bacteria in your mouth and heart disease. So I'm sure your dentist has talked to you about that. So
exactly.
Yeah, there's lots of things that go on in our mouth first.
I like this, Patrick. Thank you, man.
Yeah. So basically he was saying also like our toothbrushes, like we're putting like plastic crystals in our mouths and but they make ones that, made from bamboo
free for sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, good tip. Cause it starts in the mouth, guys. Telling you big time.
Okay. So we're going to just jump right in right now. This is it. Okay. We're going to talk about our newest launch, our Live Good probiotic gut support supplement.
Let's do it.
Now supplementation with probiotics, prebiotics, symbiotics, they do such amazing things for our gut, but they also help our hormones, our neurotransmitters. I mean, so many things that we've kind of talked about. So since you are the formulator.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Should we go?
Yeah, let's talk about
it. Yeah. So let's just clear up what prebiotic, probiotic, symbiotic, postbiotic really is. So we are talking about prebiotics and probiotics, which is what you would consider symbiotic. So there's a relationship between the two. Prebiotics is typically let's just simplify it by saying it's fiber, but it's the source for which the bacteria will feed on. So it's pre. The probiotic is the actual live bacteria. When you're looking for a supplement and you're considering a supplement, you'll see it basically as, colony forming units, CFUs, when we measure there, active AFU. But here's what you really want to focus on. Are they listing the strain? You want to know what strain is there. That's important stuff. And of course, the weight, the quantity of units is important as well. What you want is a stable platform. We chose not to go with spore forming, but that's fine. We wanted these 10 strains. These were actually cultured just for us, for our batch. But this is the probiotic aspect. And then of course we had the prebiotic, which it's so funny. I can actually sometimes, where did I have the prebiotic? Oh, it's the artichoke coat heart and the blue agave heart. We did them both as USDA certified organic ingredients. But those are your prebiotics. And if you read about them, those are super beneficial in more ways than just being prebiotics. So they're the probiotics then will feed on that and create the postbiotic, which is really the byproduct of the metabolism of the breaking down of the prebiotic fiber. It's the metabolites. That's what metabolites are. It's the byproducts of metabolism. And so these metabolites are really important, and a lot of them, what people hear about is like butyric acid is a really common one. That's the one that butyrate. So, and that would be considered postbiotic and different things. It's the environment in which after the metabolism is done, it's a beneficial environment for future and stable growth of bacteria and to stay there. So it's a great thing. And then of course, digestive enzymes. So if you look and listen to the way the digestive process works and you see how much enzyme is a part of this digestive system, you're like, oh my gosh. And then the literature that has been now coming out, there's like 2 studies and they both showed like significantly under producing enzymes.
Right.
Because again, most people, guys, we're talking about 70% of the United States population is overweight or obese. Your pancreas is pretty stressed. Pancreas plays a role as an endocrine and an exocrine gland. So it does 2 things. It releases hormones like insulin, but it also does other things like digestive enzymes. And then of course you have other organs that are playing the role. So by supplementing with enzymes has been demonstrated to be very beneficial.
Right.
They'll break down proteins, they'll break down fats, they'll break down carbohydrates.
I was just going to go there. So I'm going to use an example for my mom. My mom does eat a lot of protein. Mm-hmm. She's very healthy in shape. But every time she does blood work with her functional medical doctor, it always shows like her protein low, and other tests are showing that she's not absorbing. She's like eating all this protein, but is just not absorbing it. She has to make sure that she's taking digestive enzymes because it needs to break down. And there's digestive enzymes for each specific category, like Ryan said, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, but she needs to make sure she has her specific ones to break down the protein. Otherwise, you're just like eating this stuff. And like, if it's not fully breaking down, you're not absorbing it. And also that could lead to gas.
And there's lactase, you'll see it. You'll see the list of enzymes. And if you have a question on which one breaks down what, happy to answer that for you. You can look it up yourself. But even like the prebiotic, the artichoke, the Jerusalem artichoke heart, that actually helps release more bile. It does stimulate bile release. So beneficial in that regard as well. What else do I licorice root, marshmallow, slippery elm, and aloe vera. Just there's so many gastric like soothing benefits of these ingredients. So
it's gut health.
It's gut health. But really, what I want to go back to is the first ingredient listed on there was glutamine. Okay. And you'll see. I just talked about it a few minutes ago, but the benefits of glutamine and the repair of tight junctions to improve the gut lining.
Yes.
Because that's what it's really important that our gut lining has the integrity. I mean, not only do we talk about our mental health, but like there's somewhere 95% of it's serotonin and all that jazz, but like 70% of our immune system.
Right. We didn't even talk about
that. We didn't talk about immune health. Yeah. And so you have so much going on there. The moment that you start losing that integrity, I mean, so many other things really start to fall apart. But I would say when you're talking about mood, you're talking about immunity. These are two of the biggest things that the gut plays a role in. Of course, digestion and nutrients, absorption, all those different things. Let me just talk about a couple quick things. They are all in vegetable capsule. These are in vegetable capsules. They're delayed release capsules so that they should last in the gastric environment for a little bit longer. There's benefits to that. The utility of the microbes is improved. They are in a blister pack, so they are packaged individually so that they're not subjected, once you open a container, to the same environmental conditions that you would see like in a jar, which is important. These are shelf stable at room temperature. That's why they do not have to be refrigerated. I still would say go ahead and refrigerate. Of course, that would definitely make sense for any supplement you take.
Right.
I mean, I'd seriously, if like anything you want to just refrigerate them. But if you're using them as indicated, you're done with this box in 30 days. So individual blister packs, as long as they're not stored out in the sun or in a hot, humid bathroom, you will be fine. It's no big deal. Because that was a question. Refrigeration was a question.
Right. Did you say when to take?
Two capsules first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Right. You can increase the dose if you want. You can experiment with it and see how your gut does and how it performs. Also recommend your magnesium at night to kind of set that bowel movement up, because everybody wants to have stable, normal bowels,
Right, so, right. And normal really is 1 to 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Like normal texture, everything.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I can't see. What if you no longer have a gallbladder? Of course, no impact, but you want those enzymes where the gallbladder would have been releasing some of those, just the stuff we were talking about. So you want that bile. You want, if you don't have it, you don't have it. I believe there's the body adapts by increasing the release of other digestive emulsifying agents. I have to look that up. It's been a minute, but happy to research that for you.
Okay. So, I mean, this is, what do they take instead of Prilosec? Well,
yeah, let's talk about root cause.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to go back to figuring out what's going on that's causing that.
Yeah. And that's where your primary carers really aren't a whole lot of help. I mean, they try to really just tell you that, look, if you want to take your PPI away, your Prilosec away, you should taper that. You don't want to just drop that off like a meat, like cold turkey. So taper off of it. And then you got to go hard on the food, figuring out the food. A lot of it has to do with being overweight. And if you're overweight and you're taking Prilosec and you stop taking it, your lifestyle changes have to be rather significant. I mean, this is a lot of work. I get it. I get that maintaining a good gut environment is tough. I get that lean body mass is tough. So, commit to it though, because it's going to be the difference between you living out, having a healthy lifespan, matching up pretty closely to your lifespan, because that's the key, right? I'd like to be able to call the day, and I think the more we work on maintaining the integrity of our gut with a lean body mass and the different things that we preach about, will help you get there.
Right. I just want to say, we were talking about the SIBO test she did. It was negative. She's asking by putting the probiotics in an enema so they don't access the small intestine. Will they still repopulate the microbiome? I mean, you'll get some.
Well, no, it would go in the colon. So an enema would only make it to the colon. It would not wouldn't even make it up to the small intestine, and therefore definitely would not make it into the gut. So it's not going to work done by enema. that would only colonize the rectum. And honestly, the microbes that are there are different than your balance in your small intestine and stomach.
But I would say if you haven't done it yet, try the low FODMAP diet, or if you've done a food intolerance test with the doctor, some insurances do cover it. It's just a good idea to see your aggravators, and it doesn't necessarily mean these are allergens that you need to pull them out for life. It just, something's going on. You probably have leaky gut. There's a lot. So avoiding all these things that your body is reacting to is going to help you take steps back to be able to heal your gut. So therefore you can reintroduce these foods.
Here, I like this one. We need to address this. So you've used lean, women's hormonal, and now the probiotic and still bloated. So I wouldn't think that the women's hormonal, the bloating you're referring to with hormone imbalances is different than the food digestive bloating referring to for the most part.
Right.
You know, the water retention is different. The whole thing is different. But I do think that lean is a great complement to this gut support, or vice versa, because lean does slow down the gastric transit time. Some of the studies with the GLP-1 agonists are showing benefits with the microbe and the microbiota. Something to do with the slower process, allowing, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but the lean product has GLP-1 agonist in there in the form of the hops extract, whereas the gut support can really help break down those foods that are going slower through the GI system. So great complement to one another. But again, Melanie, if you're listening, of course, I would do the things we're talking about to help figure out what your bloating issues are.
Does yogurt help? I mean, anything probiotic, prebiotic that you can eat from Whole Foods?
Just watch the sugars.
100%, yeah.
Watch your flavored yogurts because the sugar content's huge.
Does xylitol disrupt the microbiome?
Well, we saw the benefits to it in the dental oral health.
Right,
but
your dentist
I'm not so convinced that sugar alcohols would be. I mean, I know there was some benefit. There were some studies that showed benefit. I quite frankly don't know if there was any bias or any issue or.
But I know that dentists always recommend orally,
right?
Because the xylitol helps with the oral bacteria. Can you take this? You can 100% take it with Super Greens. Yeah, the Super Greens, it has probiotics in it. It has gut health stuff in it, but that's not, I mean, that's not all what it is. And it's a minor amount of probiotics just to kind of help.
I think, Judith, what is the name of the diet you mentioned? I think what you're referring to is the FODMAP.
Low FODMAP, FODMAP. FODMAP. Yeah, there's lots of information on it. Just get, it's about a lot about eliminating certain foods that are known to cause
oil
gases.
Pulling. We talked about possibly bringing something out in
oil pulling. Yep. Yes, I have one that I love to do.
Okay. Cool, guys.
Yeah, so we talked about everything that was in there. Just want to let you guys know, you can find this on our website, livegood.com, but this is, if you're not a member, this is $19.95, which is crazy. This is 30-day supply, 60 capsules in here, 2 a day, $19.95. And if you are a member, $16.95. I mean, again, we make these prices so everybody can take them. So it's not, oh my gosh, I have to spend $45 a month, but I need this gut health stuff. We want you guys to have this, and that's our goal.
Hey, just to reiterate, best to take this anytime, truthfully, but it's either on an empty stomach, and if you tolerate it well, keep doing it that way. Take it an hour before a meal. Everybody needs this gut support product. This is not simply for people that are struggling with gut issues. That is not the case at all. Everybody should be taking this gut support product. It is beneficial across the board. But if you are on lean, it complements it really, really well.
Right. And if you try the probiotic and you actually say you try it on an empty stomach and it gives you some bloating, digestive issues, try with food or try spacing it out. Maybe one in the morning.
I like it before food though, just because you have all these digestive enzymes.
It is very important before food.
Oh yeah, sure.
But if somebody is having trouble tolerating it, this doesn't mean stay this way. But while you're reintroducing things to your gut, sometimes it helps if you've had a little bit in there, or maybe you'd be better off taking it at night before bed after you've had like a whole day. So no, I definitely like empty stomach. I like the morning before I've had breakfast for sure. So, but you just also need to figure out what works for you.
Exactly. Cool, guys. All right. Look, everybody, thank you so much.
This was a long one, 45 minutes. But again, with gut health, you could go on and on and on and on and on and on. But check out our product. And again, make sure you subscribe to our channel, leave comments, join us every Monday where we do our lives, bring them to you. Great topics. And we love all your feedback. So thanks again.
Take care, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.